for FSU. Now, let's look at what's happening like right now or what coming out of the weekend. Blake Shapen, today Dave Aranda during his weekly press conference making the comment that Blake Shapen did not expect him out. And this is not him playing games. He didn't expect him at all this week and out for sure. That means Sawyer Robertson gets the start against Texas that flies all over the place on both sides of the football. So Sawyer Robertson will get another start. And the offense, I mean, it's kind of hard to watch, to be honest with you. You look at this game with Texas, and this is not to be quoted or anything like. I don't care. This has the making of what could be bad. Like, not as bad as losing to Texas State, but if Baylor doesn't bring something like extra that we have not seen, this thing could get out of hand very, very quickly.
Yeah, they did not look great on Saturday. I mean, let's just face it, they're not a very good team. Let's just say what it is. They're not very good. They're not going to be really good by the end of the year. They could be better. They could win some games. I'm not saying that it's for the rest of the way, but, I mean, even their one guaranteed win on the schedule was kind of painful to watch, and the 2-hour rain delay in the middle of it didn't help either, but I think it kind of did because they looked better after the rain delay than they did at the start of the game. But
they did.
There's just a lot of questions about them. They don't stack up in any measurable way with Texas talent-wise. They don't have anywhere near the energy and momentum right now. They don't have anywhere near the game breakers. It's just if Texas should win this game by multiple touchdowns based on what we've seen up until this point. And I'm really looking at it not so much of like I am looking at it how close can Baylor keep this and can they even make it interesting. But I'm also looking at it from the Texas point of view. If you're coming off of how pedestrian you kind of looked against Wyoming, which, hey, it was a letdown post-Bama. Just you had a huge game and Wyoming's a good team too, but you kind of play with your food a little bit there and had more of a struggle than maybe anticipated. I'm expecting them to probably bounce back, and if they don't, then I would see that as a little bit concerning because that'd be a couple games in a row post-Bama where you're like, they should look better than that, carrying momentum on. So I think that maybe they got a little bit of their lull in last week, and I'd expect to see a very sharp Texas team, but Baylor's going to have to be at their best, and even still, I don't know if that's going to be good enough, depending on the level that Texas rolls in on. So there's going to be a lot of fun and reflecting and nostalgia and things brought up this week because it's the last matchup for a while, and I think that'll be a lot of fun. But not optimistic about the upset opportunities here based on what we've seen so far.
Before you respond, by the way, we did notice West Virginia's win against Pitt, and we're not done talking about that. That was huge, of course, for the Mountaineers.
That's a fun game to watch, too. But, Craig, I do agree. The rain delay usually favors the home team, especially when it goes as long as it did, which was, almost 2 hours. It was a very long time that they had to sit there because if you're the home team in a rain delay like that, you just get to chill out in the place that you're used to. If you're the road team, you're looking around trying to figure it out. Plus, halftime probably hurt Long Island a little bit because all of their momentum came right at the end of the second quarter. So going into halftime was probably going to hurt them a little bit. Even still, Baylor should have won the game. They just never really controlled it the way that they should. And there's no energy right now around anything, and that has got to get changed, and Dave Aranda's going to try to figure out a way to do that. But this is a roster that I think has not even gotten close to the potential that they thought when they recruited it.
Well, I asked Dave Aranda about this, and we'll have it at 4. Is your roster what you have capable of winning the Big 12 championship? We'll have that today a little bit after 4 o'clock. So that's it with Blake Shapen. He's out.
And that stinks because they need him. They need him. Sawyer Robertson being dinged up is not, a great backup compared to if he was fully healthy, at least move around a little bit running. But with his inability to run last week, it made him very one-dimensional in that offense.
It reminded me of what we saw from Will Howard at Kansas State trying to play quarterback for K-State.
Yeah, so the Shapen news is not good. It's not unexpected, though. I mean, nobody was thinking he'd be back this soon, but just to have it confirmed, minor hope that maybe, just maybe, he'd be ready. But, Sawyer Robertson, hopefully that ankle can heal up some more. And R.J. Martinez, be ready, man.
All right, Joey McGuire is kind of getting fed up with questions about the quarterback play. And I tell you what, I'm kind of surprised because Tyler Shuck ended last year with that 5-game winning streak, and he was fantastic. McGuire, after the game, before anyone even asked a question, in which he broached the topic, quarterbacks, because he said he knew someone would ask about the question. He said he's not making any change at quarterback. We have gone over the top 25 bangers. Now, I'm going to throw this out. You guys go talk amongst yourselves. Brigham Young, thank you. West Virginia, thank you. And also Neil Brown thanks you. UT figured it out. It wasn't pretty. There's a little bit of that after, post Alabama, but that was dicey into the fourth quarter. Eventually, they just had too much. And then Cincinnati, Oklahoma State, and Iowa State, what in the hell happened to you? And the Big 12 has had a few of those each weekend.
Yeah. For a minute there, I thought Wyoming was pissed about not getting asked to join the Big 12. But Wyoming's a team, and Craig Bolt, what they've built there is they are going to make it difficult for you. That's their kind of MO in the non-conference. So they've either encouraged people to schedule them more often, or now after this, been like, we're just going to put them on the voicemail and leave that unanswered for a little while. But yeah, Texas though, there were times in the past, decade or so where Texas probably still beats Wyoming, but instead of having a fourth quarter that shows everything that they can do, they just kind of figure out a way to get kind of a random field goal or garbage touchdown, and they win it. And it's, everybody's like, oh, well, that was a 13-10 or 16-10 win against Wyoming at home after a big win over Alabama. And here comes that again. But that fourth quarter showed you, for the minute Xavier Worthy caught that pass, it was no, they woke up now.
And then they had the pick at the end that just sealed it. But that was dicey. Craig Ball was at North Dakota State. He was on Osborne's staff for a long time at Nebraska. He's done a nice job everywhere he has been. Alabama. Good Lord. You talk about what in the world. They started Buckner. It did not go well. Here's a streak about Alabama football. We know now about them when they were ranked when they were. We also know then they dropped out of the top out to the bottom of the top 10, lowest they'd been in forever. Here are a couple of notes. Alabama's streak of consecutive AP top 10 appearances ends with 128, which is phenomenal since 2015. Do you know who holds the answer's at the bottom. Who holds the record? I did not know for sure who it was. It was the Miami Hurricanes run from 1985, 2 years after Snellenberger won the national title, to 1993, 137 consecutive appearances inside the top 10.
Yeah, it was ugly. They put Buckner in there to try to, I guess, create a little bit of a jolt after Milroe's performance the week prior. And, certainly Milroe left some things to be desired with his play against Texas. There were some things to like as well, but there was definitely some room for improvement. And so I know that some were puzzled by throwing in Tyler Buckner, but I just thought, okay, you're just trying to see what the guy has. And we did, and it wasn't good. It's not certainly to the level that Alabama expects. And so they're in a very tough spot where there's no transfer portal to go grab somebody right now. There's no redo we should have gotten somebody earlier on in the transfer portal when more guys were available. We should have gotten Sam Hartman, or we should have gotten, can't redo that now. So, you are who you are. This was a problem that some people suspected they would have. Those people ended up being dead on, that they do have a quarterback issue, and it's not too many good guys. It's not enough of just one guy to be able to help them, be at their normal level. So to see them out of the top 10, history, cool to see, I guess, for those who hate Alabama. Just bizarre to see for those of us who have seen, them be a juggernaut for as long as they have. But every dynasty, empire, whatever, falters or, takes a step back or, dies off. They're not going to die off by any means, but they've definitely taken a step back. And you just wonder how much farther they're going to be stepping, because there's a lot of season left to go here. There's not necessarily – they could lose again this weekend. They could lose this weekend. And can you imagine just how much gasoline that pours on? So, yeah, it's going to be fascinating to watch the rest of this Alabama story. But they have issues, especially there at quarterback. And, Tyler Buckner coming in there didn't solve any of them.
Justin R., thank you very much. USF held Alabama. How about this, guys? To the lowest first half total since 2007. Talking about yardage. We did something, I guess. And Justin, I thought the Bulls played really well with Golish, who knows Saban. I kept waiting. Who's going to make an explosive play? They run a punt back for a touchdown. Of course, there's a penalty. Alabama's been struggling with that.
Tight end had a really long catch. Yeah. But Alabama, for the next 7 weeks, no team they play will have a worse quarterback than they do. They play Jackson Dart, Will Rogers, Connor Wigman, KJ Jefferson, Joe Milton, Jaden Daniels, and Devin Leary. I know that you can get varying degrees on that, but
And Jalen Milroe, by the way, you have that real quick. Go ahead, Paul.
but all those guys have done more than the Alabama roster quarterbacks right now.
Milroe gets the start this week. Craig?
Do what?
Milroe gets the start for Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they proved that with having Tyler Buckner out there and seeing what they saw. It's like, yeah, let's go back to Jalen Milroe. And so, yeah, you got your little experiment, and it failed, and now it's Jalen Milroe. But you saw what was said about Jalen Milroe, right, about his attitude. He had a bad attitude during practice last week, and that was part of, how everything came together, and that, apparently he was showing a better attitude on the sidelines, but that was not what the case was during practices during the week. So, now he's got his spot back, and hopefully he's learned some lessons. They learned some lessons, and they can move on and, see what they can make of that partnership moving forward, because they need somebody to step up and emerge. And, Milroe wants that spot. Go out there and prove why you're the guy. He showed some of that against Texas, but he's got a lot more he's going to have to show. But certainly that makes sense. And give USF a lot of credit, man. I mean, they were feisty. They played hard. They were, at their home in front of a big crowd that was expecting Alabama to just roll right through them, or maybe some that thought, hey, Alabama hasn't looked that good. There's an opportunity here. And sure enough, I mean, USF gave it their all and, made that one heck of a game and made that a scare, a tremendous scare for the Alabama faithful. So would have been amazing to see the Bulls pull that off. Just didn't have enough when all was said and done. But, it's weird times in Tuscaloosa right now, but the folks in Tampa should be very happy with, obviously you want a different result, but I think that's something that you can be proud of, that performance on Saturday.
Todd Orlando, the defensive coordinator. Remember him? He's the defensive coordinator for USF, and Alex Golish and his team played their nuts off. I'm telling you, they played really, really well. Now, Colorado. I got a story to tell. So late Saturday, it was a long night the night before, a drive back from Rockwall, 2 hours, got back, then pregame, game delayed. I left the stadium, went back for the postgame, and so it's late, like 11:45, I don't know what it was, and I fell asleep. I had the big screen up in my bedroom. I just crashed. And I woke up as Colorado State has the ball at about midfield with a 7-point lead with, 3 to 5 minutes left in the game. They had a 4th and 2, and they punted. And I was like, go for the kill there, but they did the right thing. They punted down to the 2, and it really was like less than 3 minutes or so. And Shedeur Sanders, 98-yard drive. The throw to Jimmy Horn Jr. was 45 yards, 7 plays. I'm telling you, man, that was impressive. And then in overtime, it was a game that was an absolute turf war. There's some bad blood. We know there's 90-plus times they've met. But that right there was a chance for someone to take out Deion. I know they have Oregon and USC. But what Shedeur Sanders did, what Shiloh did, and Travis Hunter's out for a few weeks, maybe 3 or so, I'm so glad I woke up in the middle of all that, because I could not go to bed once I got back into the game.
Yeah, it was a fantastic finish. And look, lots was said about Jay Norvell and what he did last week, and I still think it was a little bit silly to do it. But, hey, he backed it up, and his team, it worked for them. They should not have committed as many penalties as they did, especially that one on Travis Hunter was just dumb. But I mean, they hung in there. They were leading the game for a while. I guess an 11-point lead that they had. So, yeah, that was a great game. And Colorado continues to be they're just going to be fun to watch every single week. So, in a world where we can complain about bad TV games or this game, bad game, this and blah, 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 all that time, Colorado's never going to be boring. That's for dang sure.
Yeah, I mean, the hit on Travis Hunter is its own topic in and of itself. He's going to miss time. That obviously was a bad loss for Colorado because of what all he means to that team, both offensively and defensively. It was a dirty hit. You can look at it that way. It's gotten way out of control where apparently the guy's receiving death threats and all sorts of other nonsense. I can definitely see the Colorado point of view where it was a dirty hit. You can definitely see, like, Colorado State was trying to send a message early. Go hit one of the top guys, right? Knock the quarterback out of the game, so to speak. It very much felt like one of those types of things. Colorado State, intentional or not, it worked in their favor. They knocked out one of the best players. Like I said, that's a whole nother conversation about intent and dirty and all of that stuff. But that made an impact on the game. But Colorado State threw up all over themselves. I mean, they should have won that game. They should not have had to have gone into overtime, but the penalties, the mistakes, the turnovers,
187 yards in penalties
were just, shooting themselves in the foot over and over and over again. When they got up 11, it looked like they were going to be able to seal that thing away. But just credit to Shedeur Sanders, most of all, because he went out there and made some great plays. He's got a lot of good weapons, obviously. I mean, they still don't have some great defense. They don't have a great running game, but they get up there and just whip it around as good as anybody in the country can. And, he was in his bag, and down the stretch, they just made more plays. But gosh, if you're Colorado State, I was sitting there going like, man, what is Jay Norvell going to say in the postgame when they win this game? And it turns out we'll never find out because they ended up choking it away. I mean, I commend Colorado. You can tell that team believes. They believe so much in Dion. They believe that they're as good as advertised and even better. And they just have that spirit, that belief that I think is so powerful. And they also have some talent to back it up. But, man, Colorado State, they had that. I mean, they had that in the bag and just needed to make a couple more plays or just not make some of the boneheaded plays that they did. And unfortunately for them, they did. And that's why Colorado has another banner victory and, even more momentum. Even though it looked like, the story was going to, the brakes were about to screech and everything was going to come to a screeching halt for at least 1 week as far as the hype train goes. But kudos to the Buffaloes. They just keep getting it done. But, obviously now the schedule is going to spike up a little bit, and that's going to be fun to see.
They're like 18 or 19, I think, point underdogs against Oregon. Oregon with Bo Nix. Here's a note, by the way, on the Colorado game. Craig will have all the evidence and numbers, but John Oran late last night, the overnight ratings. Last night's Colorado game easily won the most viewed college football game of the day, despite what was a 10 o'clock kick and a game that finished, I think, somewhere around 1:30 or so in the morning, because I remember being up for it. So there's that from John Oran. We'll have the actual numbers with Craig's Off the Radar tomorrow.